Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Susan McGuire, Manager of Professional Development at ACCE, and I'm happy to welcome you to this afternoon's webinar. Today we're going to hear from Lindsay Keisler, President and CEO, and Terra Bailey, Director of Marketing and Shareholder Relations of the Catawba County, North Carolina Chamber of Commerce. Lindsay and Terra will share the innovative Chamber of the Year award-winning workforce development strategies the Chamber has implemented on behalf of the business community in Catawba County. Before I turn the program over to Lindsay and Terra, we do have a few housekeeping notes. First, attendees are in listen-only mode during the webinar to avoid background noise. And second, after the presentation, we will have time for some questions, which you can ask by using the question function of the webinar. The question box is on the lower right-hand corner of your screen on the webinar panel. Just type in your question, and I will read the question to Lindsay and Terra. If we run out of time and don't get to your question, or if you'd prefer to talk to Lindsay and Terra directly offline, please feel free to contact them. They have their contact information on the slide in front of you now and also on the last slide. Also, if you've typed your question in and we haven't gotten to it, we can get in touch with you afterwards after the webinar. Also wanted to let you all know that the presentation that you're about to see has been uploaded into the handout section of the webinar panel. If you click on handouts, you'll see it there. Just double click to download it. So you can download it now or during the webinar, or if you prefer not to do that or it doesn't seem to be working, you can also download it from our website. I'm going to record, the webinar is being recorded now, and it will be posted on the ACC website on the ACC University webinar page by Monday, March 6th. And I'll also post the presentation slides along with the webinar recording. So everything will be there no later than Monday. So with that, I will pass the program over to our panelists from the Catawba County Chamber of Commerce. Again, we have Lindsay Keisler, who is President and CEO of the Chamber, and Terra Bailey, who is Director of Marketing and Shareholder Relations. Lindsay and Terra are going to go ahead and share a little bit about themselves and their backgrounds, and then they're going to present their program. So thank you so much, Lindsay and Terra, for being here, and please take it away.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Susan, very much for this opportunity. This is Lindsay Keisler, and as of 2 weeks yesterday, I am the President and CEO of our Catawba County Chamber of Commerce. I have been at the Chamber for 7 years, served in various capacities. The last 4 years have been our Senior Vice President. I stepped in as the Interim President CEO when our boss, and I'll always call him our boss, Danny Hearn, retired at the end of September. So I've been interim since October 1, but I'm certainly pleased to assume the permanent role of president for this organization going forward. And I have with me Terra Bailey, and she'll introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Terra Bailey. I'm happy to be here also. I come from a background in marketing, mainly geared towards small business, and actually was an entrepreneur for about 9 years before starting with the Catawba County Chamber of Commerce about a year ago. So I just passed the year anniversary about 2 weeks ago. So
great. And like Susan said, our chamber was just honored to be named one of the 2016 Chambers of the Year last year through ACCE. And just to give a quick plug for the process, if you've ever considered doing it, do it. It's certainly a very rigorous process, but I'll say the benefits certainly outweighed. Even if we wouldn't have been named winner, the time was well spent. It challenged us to no end, but we were able to benchmark ourselves. We were able to pause and celebrate the things that we do really well. We also were able to identify some areas that we can certainly improve upon. So again, was rigorous, but I would highly recommend doing that. Today our goal of this webinar really is, to present the strategies in terms of workforce development that have worked for us in our community. but they certainly may not fit you or your communities like a glove. But I'm hoping that you will be able to take a nugget or two away from us and maybe apply it in your own way to suit your membership and your community. So that's our goal. But really, to start things off, what began all of this is the book, The Coming Jobs War, by Jim Clifton, who's the chairman of Gallup. And basically, that book shifted our philosophy as a chamber, and really our whole value proposition. So basically, the premise of the book states that what everyone wants in the world is a good job. So we thought to ourselves, that should be our #1 priority. So if it doesn't create a job or fill a job in this community, we're not going to do it. And we're going to present, that sort of sets the stage. We're going to present a little bit about our community first, just so that you know our size and where we're coming from. We'll present the problem that we identified, how we collected the needs for our members, our shareholders and investors, or what we call them. Finally, what are the solutions we created, both long-term and short-term, and then how are we sustaining these efforts going forward? All right, so first we're going to start with some community information, and we're going to fly through these slides, but this just gives you an idea of where we're located. We are Catawba County, so we represent the entire county. Do you see our population there? The city of Hickory is our largest city within our our county. We have 8 municipalities, and so you can see others there, our median income and how many people come in for work every day. Our MSA, which is our 4-county region, we have about 365,000 people.
I wanted to focus a little bit on the schools. So our county consists of 3 school districts. We have 1 university here, Lenora University, as well as a community college, Catawba Valley Community College. So there are three primary school districts, 6,200 college students. We have about 1,700 high school graduates per year. And about 54% of those do not go on to pursue a 4-year degree, whether that's with a university outside of our county or Lenora University within our county. So collecting this information, trying to figure out our pool of candidates to fill jobs with. And you can see our stats there on educational attainment.
Okay, so our industry clusters, and so who primarily makes up our shareholders and our investors? This is important to us because, again, these particular members have specific needs, and so how can we identify what their needs are? And so just to start out, who are they? In sum, manufacturing is one of our largest sectors. You can see there 28%. It makes up for 28% of our local economy and our employment, and mostly that's about 3 times more than the average that other communities experience in that sector. So across the country, our MSA ranks 8th in terms of manufacturing employment. We're actually ranked number 1 in North and South Carolina for manufacturing employment, and 2nd in the U.S. behind Los Angeles for furniture employment. You can see some of our other industry clusters with fiber optic cable, data centers and call centers, logistics, distribution, automotive components and packaging. We also have several international firms that choose to do business out of this county. All that to say, most of these industries, there's very specialized skills that they require in terms of talent to be able to put their product out the door. So a part of that was how do we identify what those skills are, so what are their needs, and then in addition, how can we serve as their partner and advocate to create a talent pipeline that's going to be able to fill their need. One more thing I want to point out, our unemployment rate. So about 10 years ago, this number would have looked very, very different. We were, because of unemployment, because of one of our largest sectors is manufacturing, in the recession, we lost about 25,000 jobs here. Our unemployment rate was over almost 14% in this community, but now you see we're down to 4.7% as of the end of 2016. As you all know, full employment is at 5%. So if you look at the total population of unemployed persons in this community, it's about a little over 3,000 people. Well, guess what? We have over 3,000 jobs that are vacant, mostly in manufacturing. So you can see our problem is we have a ratio of nearly 1-to-1 unemployed persons to positions that are open. The likelihood that all of those individuals, their skill set matches the jobs, very, very unlikely, and that's what we're experiencing. So this brings us to the problem, right? Even everybody is affected. Our small business owners are affected. Our civic organizations are affected. I mean, everyone's affected by this. And how? How is that? So if you take an economic multiplier and you just use 3,100 jobs as an example. I mentioned to you that we have over 3,000 jobs available. Using 3,100 as the example, if we were to fill every single one of those today, and we had a magic wand, and they were all filled, it would make an impact, an economic impact in our community of nearly $452 million in the form of paychecks. In addition, it would create about 1,300 jobs in professional services, retail, you name it, and vendors, suppliers, in order to support industry who created those jobs. So what dry cleaners wouldn't want a piece, or car dealership wouldn't want a piece of that $452 million economic stimulus? And so that's really the nature of why this is our #1 priority in our chamber. So not only are we helping industry and helping them expand and filling their jobs, but the trickle-down effect is certainly imminent. So that is really the bottom line as to why this is our #1 focus. So in order to, we've identified the problem. Now, who are the key partners involved that we need to involve in order to really solve this problem and fill these jobs? Well, first, of course, our community college here. Catawba Valley Community College is really one of our closest allies and partners. And you'll notice throughout each of these strategies, our community college is really in the forefront in creating some customized training programs for industry, you name it. Another obvious partner are 3 school systems. And then finally, we are the business community, right? We are the voice for business. So we need to bring those players to the table in order to determine, really have them gain some ownership over solving their own problem, but also how can we be their voice for this problem. So in terms of the first steps, I would certainly, if you don't have a strong relationship with your community college or technical college, that is a great place to start. And then getting to know the players in your school system. So career technical education directors, as well, of course, as your superintendents, assistant superintendents, and then industry. Industry needs to know that this is your priority, that you are there to help them fill their needs. And so they need to see you as that relevant partner and that hub for connectivity and that really solution to their problems. Okay, so how did we get started? It really started with a community strategic plan, and we called ours Innovate Catawba. We identified 6 key priorities, one of which was workforce connectivities. So here you can see the objective, overall objective, and it's really what we have been talking about. And then sort of our areas where we see the process, and then what are our actions? What do we hope to create out of this? What are the solutions we hope to implement so that we can fill these jobs and create a pipeline of talent that's sustainable for these industries going forward? And so the Chamber, we played the lead role in this work group. So Danny Hearn actually was the chairman of this work group for our community. And the other players, of course, that were at the table, our local government, our community college, our K-12 systems, even healthcare was at the table for these six initiatives. And then we involved over 400 stakeholders in this process. In this particular work group alone, we probably engaged 40 various employers and mostly manufacturers who made up this particular work group. So first, we, like I mentioned before, we needed to identify their needs of employers. We needed to develop both short and long-term solutions. And then finally, this needed to be sustainable. So we started out with collecting data and identifying needs. And the way to do that, at least we thought the best way to do that for us was, again, to gather the right people in the room. So we hosted what we called the Tapping Into Talent Summit. And this is something you could easily duplicate for your memberships. But simply, we had 75 employers that were there, mostly in manufacturing, some call centers, and individuals that represented logistics and trucking were in the room. And our objective was first to identify what are the hardest jobs to fill, what are the barriers you are experiencing in terms of acquiring talent. So at this event, we engaged a particular type of technology that maybe you're familiar with, using cell phones and real-time immediate results. So we came up with a pretty extensive survey, and each individual in the audience could respond to the particular question we asked real-time through their mobile device. And so that was really neat. So they were able to, we asked the question, and then right on the screen it would populate the results. So everyone there could see, hey, I'm not alone in this situation. Other people are experiencing this. And then finally, we collected some qualitative insight data from the group by breaking out into smaller groups and having some discussion questions. So through all this, we collected all of this data and analyzed it, and then overwhelmingly we created some action items that were just very apparent and would solve the problems for the majority that were in attendance, because this certainly represented a micro portion of our membership, and really of our local economy. So the results, our community college implemented, they said the #1 thing we're experiencing is the lack of soft skills. You know, they're showing up to work late, they don't have eye contact, they're using their phones on the job, whatever, you name it. You've all heard this with your employers, I'm sure. And so our community college developed a soft skills training course where employers could send employees through if they wanted. It was very cost effective. So that was one strategy that was automatically done. Second, we created some customized industry training programs that Terra is going to talk about next. And then finally, this was a great start to say, hey, employers, we're here for you. we are going to implement. We're committed to this process. We're committed to this, but we want to engage you. We need you to help implement these strategies or come up with these solutions. And so this automatically helped us to create 75 employers that could potentially meet regularly to roll their sleeves up and be a part of the solution.
So one of the points that came out of the Tapping into Talent Summit was customized. They wanted customized industry training programs. So wanted a way for the people in this community who needed a job to be trained specifically for the job. So really collaborating with our community, with Catawba Valley Community College, and then we developed a board of 40 partner companies from our county to come together and develop a curriculum for what we call the Manufacturing Academy. So you can see a sort of a synopsis here. So the Manufacturing Academy is actually housed at our community college. It's a 3-month program. So when students graduate from the Manufacturing Academy, they essentially already have 90 days experience on the job and training specifically for general manufacturing. It introduces the students to the basic concepts of manufacturing and prepares them for these careers within these local companies. You can see here sort of the synopsis for the program. And now they're in the process of building a phase 2 for the Manufacturing Academy, which includes even more hands-on training with welding and some other things. And those 40 partner companies are still very involved in meeting on a bi-monthly basis to continually look at the program and do updates and things to satisfy the needs that are there. The second type of training that was established was the Furniture Academy. So this is also still manufacturing, but more geared specifically to furniture manufacturing. So 5 partner companies were involved. This particular program, where the Manufacturing Academy is 3 months, the Furniture Academy is actually 11 months. There's a 100% hire rate out of the Furniture Academy. The Manufacturing Academy, there's also a 100% hire rate for on the job. So that's a real good turnout, or a real good success rate. Yeah. So the instructors even for this Furniture Academy are from local business. So they work during the day at these manufacturing companies that make this furniture, and then at night they will go and teach these classes. As well, the supplies that are in the Furniture Manufacturing or the Furniture Academy are donated from these organizations. So the textiles and the wood and anything that they would need to learn how to, or to gain these skills that they would need to work in these furniture companies, they can get here at the Furniture Academy. Another big success story, we've actually expanded the Furniture Academy into a larger location at the end of 2016 and into the beginning of 2017 to handle even larger classes of students. So, and it's also gotten state recognition from our governor. So this has been a really great program to train people to get them into these jobs that need to be filled here in our community.
So after identifying the needs and really putting the educational and training pathways in place that we didn't have before, now we're starting to see kind of a pipeline created where these individuals who maybe they're coming out of high school, but most likely maybe they're interested in a career change. So they're exiting a certain career path and they want to enter into these. But as you can imagine, you can't just walk in a furniture company and upholster a custom piece of furniture day one. So again, this is something that's 11 months. They do fundamentals part first, then the hands-on part second, and they can walk on the job floor and be able to produce for these companies. So this has been a really, really valuable piece to these strategies. In addition, we needed to connect talent with these pipelines. So how do we do that? And so we created a website in partnership with our community college, again, called catawbacareers.com. So on this site, you can see various things, but specifically I want to focus on the hot jobs videos. So we actually funded, our chamber funded for 6 hot jobs videos to be created by a local creative agency. Again, these feature some of the hardest to fill jobs in our community: industrial or maintenance technicians, upholsterers, sewers, and cutters, respiratory therapists, and healthcare. So it really spanned across all sectors. These were a success. We tried to gear them towards the younger demographic. So they're quick videos, but to catch their attention, they're also on a YouTube channel. But in addition to the jobs that are highlighted, there's also a job board on this site. But most importantly, it connects you with the training necessary in order to fill these jobs. So this site is utilized in our K-12 systems. It's also optimized for search engines so that the general public, if you search for a career in Catawba County, this is going to pop up on one of your top search results. Also, we're going to talk about our MADE magazine. We put a digital link to drive traffic to Catawba Careers. They can view the MADE magazine on this website as well.
So earlier we mentioned that back during the time of the recession, we lost around 25,000 jobs, mainly manufacturing jobs in our community. So a lot of our current high school students who are graduating that we're kind of targeting for these manufacturing positions, their parents or maybe their grandparents were laid off from their positions within the manufacturing company. So aside from just providing the academies and putting the careers online, we needed a way to reach our high school students and our junior high school students and almost rebrand the manufacturing career path to them so that it was more attractive. When some of these manufacturing jobs came back, they were even more automated with robotics and things, so even more skilled than they were before the recession. So we created a magazine. It is a printed magazine, mostly for integrity's sake, but most of the views of this magazine have been online. There's a QR code as well as a link to it from the Catawba Careers website. This was also pushed out to all of our schools and the school counselors and
Lindsay? Hey folks, it looks like we've lost audio temporarily. I'll see if Lindsay can call back in. We are still here at ACCE, so stand by. We will see what we can do. Yeah, I'm trying. Lindsay? Lindsay? Hey, we lost audio. All right. Can you hang up and call again? Hey everyone, we are working on audio. Stand by. Sorry for the inconvenience.
It sounds like we're back.
All right, I hear you. Yay. All right, sorry everyone for that inconvenience. Sometimes these things happen, but Lindsay and Tara, you can resume.
We're here. Apologize.
I don't know what happened there.
So we were getting started on our conversation about our Made magazine. So we had these academies created. We had CatawbaCareers.com created so that we were telling people about the jobs that were available. But there was another speed bump that we needed to get over, and that is just the overall trajectory of what people thought about a manufacturing career path. A lot of our high school students, their parents or maybe grandparents were laid off from manufacturing positions during the time of the recession. We mentioned losing 25,000 jobs. So we needed a way to rebrand the manufacturing career path and you know, in a sense, make the manufacturing career more give it more sex appeal. So the Made magazine was created to sort of rebrand and reframe the manufacturing career path. There was the integrity of the printed piece, but most of the views and readership of the Made magazine has been done online. There was a QR code associated with it. There was a link online via the Catawba Careers website. And the purpose was just to create a talent recruitment tool. There was a 2-year shelf life for this particular magazine. So Southcom Publishers was hired. The actual design and content of the magazine was all done in-house. Well, the design was done by a local design firm. All of the content was developed in-house. And Southcom Publishers' sole mission was to do our ad sales. So advertorial sales came in at $92,000. It was a 68-page publication. 16 of those pages were actually dedicated more to training and education. So not only are we telling people through this magazine or telling the student or anyone that had readership what jobs were available, but we're also directing them to how to get the training and education they needed in order to fill those jobs. 24 company advertorials. We tried to focus more on an advertorial pathway rather than just ads. And we had 25,000 copies printed. Once we were done with the magazine, we partnered with the local school systems for targeted distribution. We had posters made, handbills, which are little cards with the QR code printed on them, that directed them to the online version of the magazine. We have media partners with, we have 2 local magazine publications, Hickory Living and Sophie Magazine. So we worked with them to put the QR codes in their magazines. We had a poster, a large poster made for our local movie theater, who has a lot of traffic. We only have 1 movie theater in our county and surrounding counties. And contracted with a local company to distribute the printed copies to 300 high-traffic businesses. So a lot of your healthcare offices, doctors' offices, anywhere you would run into sort of a local magazine, we wanted it to be in front of our students and our population. And we were very excited when the impact even reached beyond what we thought was going to be more of a high school and maybe middle school readership. We started getting feedback even from our elementary schools, which you can see one of the letters there where it was used in a classroom, not only as a reading exercise, but as just a community awareness exercise for the school children.
All right, so shifting gears, we also have taken students, actually 10,000, we just hit the 10,000 milestone mark, taking 8th grade students through exposing them to local industry, really taking them on industry tours, also some hands-on activities to involve them with STEM education. And so again, like I mentioned, we just hit the 10,000 student milestone, which is just excellent. Originally, one school system had adopted this, so all 8th graders from Catawba County schools were going through, but now all 3 school systems, if you're an 8th grade student, you go on an extreme STEM tour each year. In addition, we said some of our biggest barriers were with teachers and counselors in our school systems. They weren't aware that there were so many viable careers that are here locally, and sometimes, as you all know, the pendulum has shifted too far to everyone needs to go to college. Well, no, not everyone needs a 4-year degree. You do need some specialized training, but we took teachers and counselors on an extreme STEM tour during the summer and actually paid them a stipend to reward them for their time and for doing this. So now teachers were saying, wow, I may want to quit my job or have a career change, because they're realizing that these manufacturing careers, not only are they stable and secure, the environments are different from maybe what they had perceived, and the wage rate is quite impressive. I mean, you've got upholsterers and sewers that are making upwards of $75,000 a year. So teachers are going, yes, I'd like 3 times my salary. But anyway, so it's been a very, very good thing. They've polled the students before and after, and certainly their perceptions have changed. So we're very, very excited to just this month reach that 10,000 student threshold or milestone. Shifting gears back to the soft skills. So maybe many of you are familiar of the Leader in Me program. This is a program that's based on Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this is a character development program that saturates our elementary schools. And they do have a middle school platform as well. But this is something that came on our radar by, actually, we're involved in our state association conference, and they presented on this Leader in Me program, and we said, this is something we need to check into, because our employers are asking for these soft skills. And so we took the superintendents on a tour of a neighboring community and visited their schools, and we said, well, you could tell the dramatic difference between their schools and our schools. Really telling every child that they have leadership potential, that they are a leader, and giving them these 7 habits that they can implement in their lives, both in school but outside of school. And just walking into a classroom and having a 2nd grader look you in the eye and shake your hand and say, welcome to my school, welcome to my classroom, that there was just something different. So we came back, started lobbying the school system, school boards pretty heavily, and we now 3 years later have 7 Leader in Me schools in our community. So we're proud of that. Of course, it does take a considerable investment for the schools, about $35,000 to $50,000 per school to implement, and about $11,000 per year to maintain that certification. But this has been wonderful. You're already hearing from middle school principals that are saying, I can tell the difference between my Leader in Me feeder kids versus my, other school that didn't have the Leader in Me program. Also, you're seeing elevated performance in the classroom in terms of test scores. You're also seeing decreased office referrals and disciplinary issues. So it's been a really, really great thing, and we utilized the platform of our annual meeting last year and had about 750 kids involved to show the business community, hey, this is what your future workforce could look like in about 10 years once these students are graduating high school. So you can see a picture there from our annual meeting with those children. It was a really, really great thing. We have a plan now, which I'll talk about in a moment, to implement the Leader in Me in all of our qualified elementary schools. So going from 7 to all of them. I'll talk about that shortly. So meanwhile, we've covered really the production style type of positions, but what about our other employers? They were coming to us saying, we need engineers, Lindsay. We need district sales managers. We need LPNs, RNs, CNAs. We need these types of highly trained positions, more of a 2-year, 4-year degree, or even beyond type roles. Most of those, about 75% of jobs, are recruited by word of mouth or referral. So sometimes there's a myth that there's not enough talent in the community that's available to fill these jobs, but there's also a myth amongst the talent that there aren't good jobs available to that particular caliber. So that's kind of where Talent Jam was formed, and this again is an event that we did for the first time last June. We have another Talent Jam coming up actually next week, as you can see on the left. And Talent Jam is pretty interesting. So it puts a traditional job fair on its head. So it's a perfect mashup between a professional matchmaking event, just a general connection event, and a reverse job fair. So employers or job seekers can take a mic and pitch their talent or their opportunity for 60 seconds. And of course, all while enjoying casual networking and connections. We've got local beer. We have just feature local food. It's a really high energy, fun event. So last year when we did this, we polled afterwards because it's like, okay, did it really work? Well, we polled a little bit too early, so we weren't able to measure if any hires were made, but we did find out there were many interviews scheduled, and you really can't ask for more. So the idea of connecting talent to opportunity certainly stood true and was measured. So anyway, consider Talent Jam. It was a really fun, innovative idea that our employers and job seekers have really appreciated and benefited from. So finally, looking ahead, this is something right now that was just approved through our county commissioners. So this is the sustainability aspect. How can we've got all these great strategies, but where's the synergy and what makes them, you can't just keep doing events, right? You can't just keep, you got to solve the long-term issue too. So how can we create synergy and collaboration? So right now, our county commissioners have approved $1.3 million to invest in what we're calling the K64 Learning Initiative. The Chamber and other key stakeholders are listed there, as you can see. There will be a governance board made up that, again, that governance board structure has been approved. And so these 6 priorities that you see on the K64 image Again, what K64 stands for is quite obvious. It's kindergarten through literally career, so through retirement. So we're trying to create, give students access to jobs and careers from an early age, and then also providing multiple entry and exit points in terms of the life cycle of someone's career. So they can literally go do this, switch gears, get the training at our community college that they need, enter into another career and fill jobs. Mainly this is to create the differentiator from us to other surrounding communities. So if we can increase or enhance the quality of our education systems and provide character and skills development, provide work-based learning opportunities, engage employers in the education system, then and increase the technology that's available, then we could attract more families to come live here in order to fill jobs. So again, that board will set the priorities, and then they will authorize the funding in order to execute the various priorities within our 3 school systems. So that concludes the various strategies that we've kind of brought before you today. Again, we thank you for the opportunity and would love to entertain any questions that you have.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Lindsay and Terra. That was a great presentation, and so much there and so much food for thought, and we hope you all enjoyed it. So as Lindsay mentioned, please feel free to ask questions now if you'd like, and again, you just type your questions into the question box, which is on your webinar panel to the right, and I will see the questions and I'll read them to Lindsay and Terra. So we do have a few here. So our first question is, who pays the community college for the training for participants in the Manufacturing Academy, the employer or the attendee?
Actually, it can be either. So what we've seen is because employers are so desperate for talent, they've put up scholarships for, it's only about $250 to go through this 3-month program, particularly in the Manufacturing Academy side. And most employers are saying, I'm going to put up a certain amount of positions within this cohort, and students will opt in to taking those scholarships, or if they really want to, they can pay for themselves to go through. Another thing you're seeing employers do is to say, if they've got qualified applicants that come that need some additional training, they'll refer the Manufacturing Academy or the Furniture Academy, and then what they'll do is they'll say, once you graduate, bring your certificate to me and we'll reimburse you for that $250 fee, and we'll hire you. So it's been a really great thing.
Okay. Who financed the teacher's stipend for the summer extreme STEM tours?
We actually paid for a portion of it, and then actually our community college funded the other portion. And I mean, it was a nominal stipend. I think it was like $75 or something, but that certainly put the carrot out there and the incentive for them to participate.
Okay, and a basic question about your chamber. How many staff does your chamber have, and how many members or shareholders?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we didn't even cover that part. We have 6 staff. 3 of us are full-time. We've got 3 part-time staff members. And our service area, the number of members, we have 820 members, shareholders and investors.
Okay. How many employers and job seekers attended the Talent Jam?
Oh, good question. So last June, we had about 60 employers that were represented. We ended up having about 200 attendees, but 60 employers that were there. Job seekers, I'd say over 100 job seekers that were there. We're experiencing, we can tell that unemployment rate has dropped because we're like crossing our fingers this week with only, being literally a week out to our next event. Hopefully we can reach that same goal. But that was a good amount. We were happy with that for our first event.
That's great.
And first, all the employers that were there were actively seeking talent.
Okay.
But then again, we had a generic. It was free to attend, right? It was $20 to pitch. So we had a generic name tag that said, "I'm just here for the beer." So individuals who wanted to come and just participate and network and really net give, connect the dots for job seekers and employers, they were also welcome to attend, even though they weren't looking for a job or looking to fill a job.
Okay. Lindsay, what was the book that you mentioned at the beginning that jump-started your approach? I think, was it Coming Jobs War?
It's called The Coming Jobs War, and it's by Clifton, who's the chairman of Gallup.
Okay.
Gallup.
All right. I will see actually if we have that in our ACCE bookstore, or we can put it in our bookstore, and then I can actually link that with the recording in case anyone is interested in taking a look at that book. Can you share your budget for the Manufacturing Academy? The one that was $250 for the 3-month program?
Actually, that is fully managed through our community college. So even though we were the catalyst to help get that started, of course we identified the need and created this solution. The community college themselves created that customized training program. Of course, the employers were the ones who developed the curriculum for it. So the community college themselves would have that budget.
Okay.
We don't maintain that.
Okay. And then this is an interesting question. Are you tracking the students that come out of the academies for at least a year to see if they are staying with the job they got hired for?
No, we're not. We're not currently. But as Terra mentioned, our Furniture Academy 100% have landed positions even before they graduate. Manufacturing Academy, 100% job offers. Some actually were unemployable, only a handful. They said about 98% right there. But a year later, we have not tracked that. So that's a good thing for me to take over the community college and ask them to do.
Yeah, good next step. Okay, I think that's all the questions for now. If anyone else has any questions, we have a few minutes more. In the meantime, just a reminder that the webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the ACC University webinar page, which you can get to by clicking over on Professional Development, hovering over ACC University Online, and then clicking on Webinars. So I'll have the recording there. I'll have the presentation, the presentation handouts, and I will have that link to that book. And also I'll have a link to the other information that the Catawba County Chamber submitted for their Chamber of the Year Award that relates to these initiatives they've been discussing. So you'll get a lot of information. Yeah, we have Michelle Vegliante here of our ACCE staff, and she has a question.
I do have a question. One thing that I was wondering is, you shared all of this great information, some of your great successes. What was one major challenge that you came across, if you, looking back on things, maybe something you would have done differently?
I think one major challenge, which K64 is actually going to solve. I mentioned how we just named several of our strategies that we thought would be the most relevant to bring. Oh my goodness, there are probably 10 to 20 more that we could have talked about who are managed by various ones of our various collaborative partners that we engage with daily. So the whole idea of this, there's no silver bullet for talent recruitment and development, but we really need to simplify it. We really need to simplify these pipelines and streamline that. And that, again, that's what K64 is going to, we really think is going to do for this whole initiative, bring it all together under one roof. There will be a director hired for the K64 Learning Initiative. So they will then take all of these strategies and kind of package them together, put a nice red bow on it, so that we can be more effective in disseminating the message to the right people.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, it looks like that's all the questions we have, and we're just about out of time. Thank you, Lindsay and Terra, again for that great presentation, and thank you everyone for your participation and your interest. Our next ACC University webinar will be on Thursday, March 23rd, and it will be on addressing the skills jobs disconnect through education attainment. The webinar will be presented by Richard Dayu, President and CEO of the Greater El Paso Chamber, who will discuss the Chamber's commitment to guaranteeing that students matriculate into college by promoting FAFSA, Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and by Tina Worth, Senior VP of Education and Workforce Development of the JAX Chamber, who will outline the Chamber's Earn Up initiative. So please join us again on March 23rd to talk about workforce development and education if you can. So again, thank you everyone for participating this afternoon. Thanks again, Lindsay and Terra. Hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.